When facing gunmen opening fire, he could instantly predict all possible outcomes for himself.
You have one way out of this.
Jack possessed the ability to foresee the future by 2 minutes. A terrorist organization had secretly smuggled a nuclear warhead into the United States and deployed it somewhere. To locate the warhead, FBI agents forcibly confined Jack in a sealed room, using tools to pry his eyes open so he could predict the warhead's location from news broadcasts on television. However, Jack could only foresee 2 minutes ahead, and it had to be a future connected to himself. Given the current situation, Jack had no choice but to try breaking through his limits to see into a more distant future. Unexpectedly, from a future news broadcast, he saw his girlfriend bound with explosives all over her body by the terrorist organization. The location was a parking garage, the time was 6 p.m. Just as the bomb disposal unit was about to move forward for rescue, Jack snapped back from the future scene. He desperately suppressed his emotions. At 6 p.m. today, his girlfriend would be blown to pieces by explosives. This was a future he absolutely could not accept. So Jack finally agreed to cooperate with the police. He and the police chief went to the parking garage where the explosion would occur in the future, and began using his precognitive abilities to trace back to the source. Eventually, he successfully saw the terrorist's license plate number. The police then used the license plate information to track down and locate the terrorist organization's headquarters ahead of time, just as the terrorists were leaving for the parking garage. Both sides immediately engaged in intense gunfire, but with Jack's precognitive predictions, all the terrorists hiding in the shadows had nowhere to hide. The terrorist leader took the girlfriend hostage and entered the ship's cabin. Jack, protected by fully armed soldiers, followed close behind. With Jack's precognitive abilities guiding them, even when the terrorists had set up light sensor bombs around corners, Jack knew about them in advance. Just as Jack reached a corner, he was shot in the chest by a bullet, but this was only his precognitive vision. Armed with advance warning, the special forces immediately eliminated the hidden sniper. In no time, Jack had completely mapped out all the routes inside the ship's cabin and finally located his girlfriend. When Jack and the police chief cornered the terrorist leader with no escape, the leader still tried to struggle. But under Jack's foresight, the leader ultimately died under the police chief's gun. However, when they opened the container that should have held the nuclear warhead, it was completely empty. Clearly, the warhead had been moved elsewhere in advance. Jack looked at the city satellite map on the computer screen and suddenly realized he seemed to have overlooked one fatal detail. The nuclear bomb detonated instantly several kilometers away. Opening his eyes again, Jack found himself back on the bed in the motel room. Everything that had just happened was entirely his precognitive vision. Because of his girlfriend's presence, Jack's precognitive abilities had been enhanced, completely breaking through their constraints. He could now see 24 hours into the future instead of just 2 minutes. This time, the future was in Jack's hands.
From the movie Next.